there in MOUG land. Welcome to another installation of Facebook Live. It's great to see you guys all here. Remember, just one quick announcement, next week we'll be on Tuesday at the same time at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we will have a guest speaker, John Hubbard, talking about the gimbal mount, which allows you to scan on a drone and down holes. But you guys don't want to know about that right now. You guys are probably more interested in our guest speaker for today, and I'm so proud and I feel so privileged to welcome our guest speaker, our new CEO for Matterport, RJ Pittman.
Great to be here. Thank you. And I'm also proud and privileged to be joining this group. I've been anxious to get on Facebook Live and talk with real Matterport customers that are doing amazing things out in the field. So I'm ready to jump in.
Yep. So RJ is definitely customer centric. He cares a lot about you guys. So this is an opportunity where you can ask him some questions and get to know him. And I think that's just awesome. So we're open for questions. Hit us up. So RJ, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background? And
Sure. A couple of things maybe that you can't read on my bio or in LinkedIn or what have you that might be worth sharing with the audience here related to why I joined Matterport. Alongside my technology career, which has been kind of a mixture of some really interesting startup companies and some big companies like Apple and Google and eBay, all amazing journeys in themselves. But I'd say, in addition, perhaps as long as my entire tech career, I've had a love affair with architecture, design, and property development. And it goes all the way back to when I was a teenager, and my mom decided in the middle of my summer of junior year of high school that she was going to move the family into a fixer-upper, and it became my summer job, which I thought was going to be a nightmare and take me away from all the fun stuff that you get to do on summer break from high school. And in the end, I actually found a passion in building my own bathroom and in, kind of reconstructing a really old house in northern Michigan and making it great. And we had to do it on a schedule, and it had to be ready in time for school to start my senior year. And that was the beginning of, a long-standing pursuit of mine alongside technology, designing and building and rehabbing structures in California and Michigan and Detroit and in the UK. And so when I discovered Matterport, it was at a time in my life where I felt like it was time to bring those two worlds together. Something related to the physical world and the built world and everything that I've done in technology. And there probably wasn't a more perfect fit than Matterport and what we're doing. And that was before really discovering all of the untapped potential that this company has yet to achieve, despite its success to date. So we got a lot to get after, and I'm excited to be here.
yeah, cool. So it sounds like you found the perfect job.
Yep, it's pretty awesome. And, just a couple of months into the job, so I'm still new. I have as many questions as I do answers. I probably have more questions for the audience than they do for me. But so far, it's going extraordinarily well. We had a great launch in New York just a couple of weeks ago, and that was a very important and pivotal moment for the company. And while we did this fairly early in my tenure at the company, it was something we worked really, really hard on and have been very thoughtful about how we create a much bigger market opportunity for everyone, for Matterport, for our partners and customers, by really expanding the size of the addressable market for 3D capture. That's really what that was about, and we're off to a great start with it. There's tremendous interest in it, and we're going to continue, to grow the pie, if you will, and continue to build a much more scalable opportunity for the whole of the Matterport ecosystem.
Cool. Do we have any questions? Anybody? Any questions? This is your opportunity. All right. Well, if we don't have any questions,
I see one in here. What are your plans in promoting MSPs. It's an interesting question, and one of the things that I've noticed in the way that we connect, let's say, new customers or people interested in getting a 3D capture, and they oftentimes will come to our website, and you have two choices. You can go down the track of exploring the products and services that we offer directly with Pro 2 camera and soon the support for the 360 cameras, or you can click into our MSP network and tell us where you're at and what kind of job you're looking for, and we connect you with MSPs. I'll be honest with you, I'm delighted we have that capability on the website, but in my view, it's a bit of a mystery box. And I would love to create more transparency around that network because it's very powerful. It's a key part of our success. And I think it was a great start, and it's grown to thousands of MSPs in the network, which is really, really awesome. And I think something Matterport should be proud of and the MSPs should be proud of. But we can do a much better job managing and moving opportunity and customer opportunities and scanning opportunities to the MSPs by creating some transparency and building that visibility. So as a whole, I'm very bullish on it. I absolutely believe that we should be marketing the totality of what Matterport has to offer. And we talk about the concept of making Matterport more accessible to the rest of the world. And a key part of that playbook is unlocking the full potential of the MSP network. And we're not doing that yet, right? And so we're going to be working on a lot of creative ways to not only market the MSPs themselves, but market the entire MSP proposition, because it's perhaps the easiest and most convenient way, to get into the Matterport ecosystem. And that responsibility is on us. And that's an area in the company that I have singled out as a very important strategic tentpole for 2019. And we don't have a lot of these strategic priorities, but that's one of them. And so you can expect to see a lot of good forward progress on that. And we're going to do that together. I've made it, we talked about being customer centric. These aren't kind of playbooks that are going to just come out of my head or whatever my team thinks is the right thing to do. We crowdsource this through our customers and our partners, large and small. And even the launch we did in New York, it was fueled by input from tens of MSPs and direct customers that helped us navigate this in a way that I don't think we would have landed it as successfully if we didn't incorporate the voice of our customers and partners all along the way. And so as we do this and we start moving in and creating more of that transparency and really lighting up the network, we've got to do that together with the MSP. So, watch for us to be reaching out and, kind of building a coalition of the willing.
Yay, that sounds awesome. All right, here's a question from Oded. Can you share a list of upcoming features, and is a new Matterport camera planned to come out?
Okay, let's see. So on the feature front, let me explain it this way. The short answer is I think there's going to be more features and capabilities coming to Matterport in the next couple of years than we've seen in a very long time. And the way that that's going to happen is not necessarily by Matterport going and building and adding every feature for every vertical market application that we can think of. We'll do some of them, but what we're going to do is open up the platform. And this is a really important step for the company where Matterport Cloud, and you think of Matterport as a service where we have to go beyond the walls of our own ecosystem today and allow for third parties to come in and develop great experiences on top of the platform. Whether that's creating enhanced and new types of floor plans, maybe in creative ways that we just haven't even seen created yet. We have some ideas, but we also know that there's a great ecosystem of designers, developers, architects, and property tech companies out there that have been knocking on our door for partnerships. And Matterport is a growing company, but we're still very mindful of the resources. We have to prioritize what we work on. We can't build everything for everyone all the time, but boy, can we leverage a network out there of the sort of broader ecosystem of partners to co-develop with us. And so by opening up access and letting people create enhancements, in the 3D spaces themselves, is going to be really important. And we're going to go even further than that. I want to open up, some aspects of our data, but be careful about how I say this. It's not about cracking any privacy issues and making people nervous about us exporting their data to third parties. That's not what I mean here. But what we will do is with spaces that we capture, and maybe even spaces that MSPs capture or the customers decide to opt into, we would love to. We have such a unique data set. And there's tremendous research going on all over in universities, and great R&D happening that we think could really, really benefit from what Matterport is working on here. And then, quite frankly, lead to some great breakthroughs in the science and technology of 3D capture, that's bigger than us. And so if you look at it that way, and you start to think about, Matterport as a platform with real APIs and real SDKs that we can open up to the ecosystem, all kinds of things. You hear everybody talking about virtual staging as another example. There are tens of companies that are working on this problem right now. And again, we could decide as Matterport to go work on it and build a crack solution that's awesome. But we'd rather actually enable the tens of companies that are, innovating and doing really cool things to accelerate their own, business by giving them a big head start, with a dimensionally accurate, volumetrically accurate 3D model to begin with. Nobody can do that as well as Matterport. So that's how the ecosystem is going to expand. It's a very big deal. It's a lot of work that we're going to be doing. It's another one of our strategic priorities or tent poles for the year. So give us some time, to get this built. But that's absolutely where we're headed. The other part of this is, both my sales organization, marketing teams, and especially the product and development teams. We get feedback, feature requests, customer input on a daily basis. And in fact, from large customers, they'll say, we would love to do a big deal with Matterport, but here are the 3 or 4 missing features that we need. And what happens? At the end of the day, a company of Matterport size gets inundated with now tens of or hundreds of feature requests. And we are going to systematize this in a way that we haven't done before. And we're going to create what I call a dedicated swim lanes that are going to be very customer-centric. Separate from our core roadmap for the year, we're going to be actually going through and mining the list of all of these feature requests, past, present, and recent ones that are coming in, and prioritizing those according, to the opportunities, prioritizing them according to sort of the immediacy of the need, and there's a lot of really low-hanging fruit there. And we're going to start talking about that. We're going to share our plans with the community so people know what to expect from us. Like, this is so important. We don't need to keep this a mystery or keep people guessing. And by the way, I don't think the company was even intentionally doing that. I think there's just an effort that we needed to take on to get a little bit more serious about, how we develop the roadmaps in accordance with what our customers and partners need.
Yeah, so you're listening to our customers.
Yeah, it's super awesome. It is critical.
Because our customers are so important.
Well, they're important, but more than that, they're the power users. One of the things I'm really pushing here is to make sure everybody inside Matterport is a Matterporter, and that they're all scanning and using our products, because that's the only way you can be great at your job is if you're in the shoes of the customers that we're selling our services to, and that's a big deal. And by the way, there are employees here who are phenomenal Matterporters, and there are a whole bunch more that we're now getting into the game, and it's going to make a really positive impact.
Sweet. Well, here's some feedback for you. Noel Samai says, "Love your energy, Mr. RJ. Thanks for being accessible to the MSPs." Yay, Noel. All right, Chris Petracco has a question. Companies like Miro are undercutting the business model at scale, then finding they can't keep their promises. Typical business overhead makes working for them near minimum wage. Please discuss.
Let's see. My comments there, I might kind of take a half step back to say, this is a common challenge in what I call the new world order of the sharing economy. And there is a proliferation of these, what I call sort of human capital networks or marketplaces for labor. And you can pick any one of them, whether it's Uber or Grubhub or a DoorDash or an Instacart. And you can look at companies like Miro, which are trying to take the photography services business and sort of modernize it and build this kind of resource management platform to drive efficiencies into the system. And to do what, right? To achieve huge scale, huge reach and coverage, and in some ways use technology to kind of standardize the product and the output. And I agree in some respects. First of all, that's a noble undertaking, and I think if there's a way to create efficiency that connects more jobs to more people, to create more economic prosperity, I'm all for it. And coming from eBay, where it's one of the most principled, mission-driven companies on the planet, I was chief product officer there. We created that market prosperity for customers in 190 countries around the world, and it was a very, very important reason for being, if you will. And to be successful in a company like that has such a marketplace, you really have to make sure, we call it your seller, you keep your seller in mind. And in the case of Miro, or even in the case of Matterport and MSPs, you have to keep the MSPs in mind. You have to keep the photographers, the shooters, absolutely in mind, because they're the reason you exist. Period. eBay, it was all about the sellers. I was obsessed with the sellers. That's what mattered. Great merchandise, and yes, you want the buyers, but you got to have the inventory. You got to take care of yourself first of all. It's the flywheel to these businesses. And I'm not sure everybody fully understands that until you're really in the trenches with a business like this. And eBay has been around for 22, 23 years now. We figured out how to get it right. And I think there's a lot of maturing to do in this whole category before folks get it right. And as we look at, creating more efficiencies for our MSPs, we too have to be really careful about what happens, because there is a creative process. We want to celebrate the MSPs. We want to celebrate their unique, value proposition that they can bring to a space, a building owner, a restaurant, an office building, a house, you name it. And guess what? There are proven ways in the case of companies like eBay where you can actually do that, and you can create a very thriving, community that allows these service providers to really rise up and show their unique proposition. And so as we look at this, we're going to bring a very trained eye with a lot of experience in doing this to carefully elevate our MSP network. So stay tuned, more coming on this, but that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I think you answered Debbie's question too. So Skeeter Stibbins asks, are we ever going to be able to do very large spaces like a shopping mall or a hotel?
Not only are we, but going to be able to, we can today. And in fact, when I was at the New York launch, one of the things that I was very, quick to point out is, look, hey, what we're creating here, like I said, is a much larger addressable market. There's 90% of the world in categories like real estate and travel and hospitality, architecture and construction, do not have Matterport, right? So we can talk all day about how to do better with the 10% roughly, give or take a few percentage points, like I'll just use round numbers, 10% of the world that's, bought into the concept of 3D capture and Matterport. There's a great big world out there that's just not even been introduced to it yet. And so there's a role and a very important role that our entry-level product category plays for us to bring much more of that 90% of the market closer to the MSPs, closer to Matterport, get their feet wet, with the experience, because we're confident that once you do, and you even get a taste of a 3D capture of your own space, it has a much more profound effect than just looking at our gallery. There's no question about it. This is a human truth we've known, for years in all sorts of other fields. We're bringing that to Matterport. On the Pro 2 side, and what was part of the announcement is, look, we made a major investment in our cloud infrastructure, major investment in Cortex, which is the engine that does the processing and the 3D reconstruction from 2D, and we've added enormous scale to this. And so what did that mean? I was there demonstrating and showing some very large spaces, several 100,000 square foot spaces, manufacturing facilities, corporate campuses, and we've done full hotels, including every single room in hotels across Europe and North America with Pro 2 today, even before we added this level of scalability. Because look, you got a lot of polygons and a lot of data, that goes into a space that's, 200,000-300,000 square feet. And so that puts a lot of compute processing tax, both on the servers in the cloud, but also on the devices, that you want to view it on. Like, it can really chug, it can hog data. And our core architects that have been working on the platform have refactored a ton of the code to create just enormous scalability for us, because we want to be able to do both the smallest properties possible, but also the largest. And Pro 2 is the only capture device that can do all of that. That's especially if you're talking about both very large spaces with high ceilings, but also outdoor, right? It's the only capture device in its category, with phenomenal product market fit in a price performance zone that is absolutely essential to our future. And so to the question about, is there a future, Pro 2, Pro 3, Pro 4 sort of camera in my mind, what I can say is this. Based on what I've just described to you, even as we are moving to more of Matterport as a service, we know that as long as we continue to see such extraordinary product market fit with the Pro 2, we're going to invest in that hardware line, and there is a lot of opportunity to do some great things there, and we will continue very committed. Because it's a key flywheel, to the business as a whole. We know that, and so nothing to announce or nothing to put up here yet. Like I said, it's still early days for me, but I'm very encouraged by the prospects. I'm very encouraged by the fact that Moore's Law is still very, very much relevant and hard at work here, making both hardware and software technology better, faster, smaller, more performant, less power consumption, cheaper, and we can't leave that behind, right? That's something that we need to stay current and stay ahead of the curve on for the benefit of all of our customers, because the world of capture innovation in itself ain't slowing down, if you haven't noticed. Whether it's the phenomenal technology that you see being stuffed into these smartphones, like, it's just unbelievable. You look at the Samsung announcement, there's a foldable device that has 6 cameras in it. I mean, it's getting crazy. Look, we want to embrace all of that innovation, right? And Matterport, like, our philosophy is, we can't do it all. We're not going to be able to build every camera and every device and have devices with 6, 10, 12, 15 cameras in them, but the ecosystem will, and we'll be a participant in it with our Pro 2 and Pro, future lineup of hardware, as long as we have that unique product market fit. But we now have an opportunity to embrace other innovation, as it comes along, just giving us some versatility, and giving our customers choice.
Yep, cool. What future does the Theta line have in Matterport?
Say again?
What future does the Theta, the 360 spherical cameras? Question by Antoine.
Yeah, so, the future is new, and the Theta V from Ricoh is one of the 360 camera partners that we announced in the end of January at the New York launch, and the other is the Insta360 One X from a company called Insta360, and we're excited about both of these vendors, and they make a phenomenal 360 camera. And what they're doing is, these are companies that have seen a huge opportunity, not unlike what GoPro saw, 5-10 years ago, in the action sports and lifestyle category. And the advantage that they bring, or their differentiator to that category, is a full 360 image, right? It's a pano, wrapped in 360. It does not capture 3D, and it does not have a depth sensor in it, right? So these things are very different, as you know, and I know that our MSPs know. But a pano image gives our engine, which we call Cortex, the 3D from 2D engine, very important set of information, because effectively it's like the equivalent of stitching hundreds of images together, and it's that amount of information that allows us to do a phenomenal job approximating depth and creating a full three-dimensional transform of the 360 image. And these two, camera makers have done an exceptional job with their lenses to get a high enough resolution and high enough quality image capture that we can go to work on it and process it and deliver a 3D model with a consistency and a level of quality that it meets our minimum threshold, to really, put the Matterport brand and label on it. And believe me, that was not an easy automatic thing. I think in the world of virtual tours of homes or apartments or even buildings, a 360 image is just not sufficient. It's never been. It's not a new technology by itself. 360s have been around, and 360 VR tours have been around for a decade, maybe more. But I think there's a reason that it is not the standard, because it does not create a faithful representation of the space the way True 3D does. And obviously, True 3D is a very, very hard thing to do, and it's something that I think Matterport not only can be very proud of, but it's a real strategic advantage that we have. And so, look, it's early days with these 360 camera partners, and we're coming out of our early access program and into full release in the middle of March here, around the 15th, give or take a day. And we're going to learn. We're going to learn a lot about, we're already learning in the beta what kind of spaces are getting captured. They're really ideal for small spaces, really ideal for indoor, and it's a clear product segmentation away from, the kind of quality, the kind of performance that you get out of Pro 2. Like we mentioned, it's really designed to be entry level and to usher in a whole new category of capture in 3D. I might also, this might be interesting for folks listening in, because I've heard a lot of feedback where when you talk about a strategy like ours, where we're really trying to, go from, we've got over 1 million spaces captured around the world in 100 countries, 1.5 million and growing. And our vision is to go to 100 million spaces. And we get to 100 million, we could get to 1 billion. And the amount of spaces in the built world is just massive. And this is an opportunity for everybody. Right? So we want to bring all the MSPs along. So that's not even a 10x opportunity. That's a 100x opportunity. Maybe it's a 1,000x if we're halfway right about this. But what that means is, there is one thing we have to come to terms with, where in the early days of any new technology or capability, even photography, and we think about photography and real estate, there was a point in time where photography, especially online, but even in the offline world before the internet, photography was the differentiator. If you had photography with your listing, you were differentiated. You stood out. And there were all these other listings back in the day that didn't have photography. You got to go see the house, do the open house. You'd read about it in the classifieds in the newspaper, right? And so for a while that was the case. Then photography became ubiquitous, and it's mostly so it's with every list. You don't have a photo of the house, like what's the point of the listing? It's not going to work out so well for you. But then what happened? That whole category of photography matured. It became very clear to even the average consumer that there is photography, and then there's really good photography. And opened up was a whole huge market of real estate photography, because if you take a better photo by a professional or somebody with a better camera than your iPhone, you're going to get way better results. You can get more visits, more people coming through your property. All things go well. The same thing is happening with 3D. And we came out and look, we know this. The original proposition was, if I can offer a 3D capture as part of my photography business, I stand out. It's a major differentiator. I can win a ton of business. And that's still, by the way, going to be the case for several years to come. We're not going to be at 1 billion spaces or 100 million spaces tomorrow. However, Where we're clearly moving towards is not 3D capture as a differentiator, but 3D capture as a standard. And so what that means is there will be different shades of gray of 3D capture, as we move the world, to that place. But I believe that, you look, and I know everybody listening here believes as well, or you wouldn't be in business with us, that the power of true 3D in photorealistic quality in 4K HDR, maybe 8K HDR, as the capture continues to get better, is breathtaking, and it is sometimes better than being there, in person. And it for sure is going to become, I believe, a human standard, and it's a very natural concept for humans to embrace. And it's one of those that there aren't a lot of those that can just truly be universally adopted and universally accepted by the world. But to me, I feel like this is it. Maybe even ahead of AR and VR in that regard, because it's reflective of the actual world you live in with such accuracy that people just get it. Yeah. So, I hope that's helpful for folks out there to get a little bit of the understanding of the rationale behind, why we're doing this and what we're trying to open up, to create a much bigger opportunity.
Yeah, in my work, I get to visit so many exciting places just by looking at places that have been scanned. So I feel like every day when I come to work, I travel around the world. All right, here's a question from Debbie. How are you going to handle all the people who will need help with the new camera without creating a whole bunch of Ds? That'd be me. Will the service we have now be different once they start all needing help? Can we keep D? Are you going to get rid of me?
Wait, so can I see that question again just to make sure I got it? How are you? All people need help. Yeah, well, D's a superpower, so you can handle about 1 million customers a week, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Will the service we have now be different once they all start needing help?
No, our customer service,
Yeah.
our customer service will always be A1 top notch.
Yeah,
Right.
There's no question about that. We don't move forward without having a clear plan for success. So, and I think, in this game, and it goes back to maybe the question folks were asking about, these larger, workforce platforms and kind of a marketplace of labor and jobs. You have to be really careful to keep the signal to noise ratio very, very high. And this is something that, I can say I learned an extraordinary lesson from at Apple. Who is a company that puts the customer experience above literally everything else, above revenue, above stock price, above Wall Street, above making the quarter. It is about the customer, and I can tell you firsthand, Steve Jobs' point of view on this, which he expressed to us very regularly. He was all about investing in and prioritizing the customer, and if you do that right and you take care of the customer, the rest will follow. You get all that extra stuff, Wall Street is talking about. But look, I think it worked out pretty well for them. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily even perfect, but this is a company that went from being a minority niche player with an amazing computer with 4% market share in the personal computing business to now, selling 75 million iPhones in one quarter in 3 months' time. So you can imagine the throughput of a customer. And what does AppleCare and the support group look like? I mean, I'm amazed that the whole place just didn't melt down. Like the amount of demand and volume. The company, when I was there, for every single year we were there, and Tim Cook became CEO. He's phenomenal, one of the best CEOs in the business, bar none. And even he couldn't predict and forecast accurately what the next quarter of demand was going to be for these Apple products at a very interesting time in the business. They are always short, and we were always scrambling to keep up with, our missed forecast. But I think the company, continues to be such a shining brand for that one reason. Yes, they make amazing products, but boy, they do it in the most customer-centric way, and they bubble wrap customer, support around these things. Look at the Apple retail stores. I mean, it's the most expensive real estate in the world, literally. But it also generates the most revenue per square foot in retail of any, even more than Tiffany diamonds, and those are small little things that don't take up much square foot, but they're very, very expensive, way more expensive than Apple computers. But why did they make that huge investment? All for the customers, right? And I'm only telling you that story because it's in my DNA, and it's in Matterport's DNA. And we're just getting started there. We're going to have fun in really looking at how we can be innovative in creating all kinds of customer support tools in the modern age that help them be successful. And no, we're not going to bury D at all. If we can clone D, like anybody has any suggestions out there for how exactly we can do that, I'm all for it. We will absolutely be scaling up the human touch here on the customer success front as we continue to grow. It's a hallmark of our success, and we're not going to compromise it at all.
Good answer. Right answer. All right. Jan Menard asked the following question. Could you give us an explanation as to why Matterport is reluctant to provide us some security features and would open up that would open up industrial markets? Offline downloads other than iOS, white labels, etc.
Yep. Yes. So all part of our evolution to modernize and create scalability in the Matterport stack and in the Matterport cloud. As we go to opening up this platform, as I talked about earlier, these are exactly the kind of things we're thinking about. And look, there's a lot to weigh up here. So I want you to know that we're heavily considering all kinds of things around white labeling, around just what is the real manifestation of Matterport. Once it becomes a service in many respects, it's more of a fabric that can permeate all kinds of industries and MSPs, and that's going to just create more option value for you all. Because I'm looking at it more like Matterport is running water of sorts, or it's a utility on top of which businesses and ecosystems can be created. And that doesn't happen if you're a walled garden. And I'm not at all suggesting that Matterport is or thought of itself as a walled garden historically. I think companies done an amazing job actually to getting to this point with something as hard as 3D capture, for the rest of the world. But going forward, we know that this is an important unlock, and we know things. By the way, we're getting pulled into all kinds of interesting business proposals and customers in the industrial category, government category, insurance category, where all kinds of things around data privacy, security, access controls, and ACLs and things have to be really maturely thought through, right? It can't just be as simple as well, here are my 5 collaborators and contributors, and I have 2 or 3 I can invite people in. It's we don't live in that world anymore, and especially to tie it back to the question around doing larger spaces. When we do these large facilities and things, you better believe that those requirements exist there too, and it's about creating again that maturity in the platform and the next level as we really start pushing outside of the core business of just, it may not have been such a hard requirement in the case of residential real estate or, a small agency working with, 5 listings at a time and such. But in these bigger applications, it's real, and it's becoming a very meaningful part of our business now. And so absolutely you can expect to see a lot of work being done there. And we'll be working with some third parties in the same vein. Instead of building all that ourselves, we'll use some really cool companies in all of those cases that build the technology that we can layer on. Then maybe even have an ecosystem of choices there for how and what type of controls you want to use from what companies.
Cool. Exciting.
There was a couple in here that I just want to quickly call out that ranged from Make D COO, Super D. I just want to let everybody know I see these, I see you, and I'm a huge fan as well. So, but still nobody has given me an anecdote here for cloning D. But maybe if we stay on the line a little longer.
I'm sure Adam will figure it out.
Hey, can I take one other quick question too? This is from Skeeter Stebbins again. And this is one of these things that I'd love for the folks out there to kind of hear a little bit of my MO as I walk around building and jump into meetings and things with all these different members of the executive team that are working on exciting new deals. And there's one, common problem we have in the company, which is we get a lot of opportunities that we almost aren't fully prepared or able to deliver on. And here's a great one where Skeeter's saying, I want to do a lot of vacation rentals, like 1,000. Right now we can only have 300 properties. Like, this is, one of the most wonderful, in some ways, problems to have. Frustrating for Skeeter and folks like that out there, I know. And believe me, I'm not taking it lightly. But that is what we describe here at Matterport as very low-hanging fruit. And we cannot have obstacles in the way of people wanting to go faster, do more, and scale with us. And so that's all in the works already. This one in particular, in creating this kind of unlock. So how are we going to do this in the future? We're not going to limit people or make it hard or make you open 5 different accounts and string it all together. Like, this is ridiculous. It's a very solvable problem, and it's absolutely on the docket this year. Coming
shortly. All right. Somebody else asked, what is your leadership style?
So a couple of things about my leadership style that are really important to me. One is around empowerment. Somewhere along the line in my career, I realized I didn't have all the answers, and I certainly wasn't the smartest person in the room. And if I really wanted to be successful, it wasn't about trying to become either of those things. Don't try to have all the answers. Don't try to be the smartest person in the room. 'Cause 1, it'll never happen. But 2, if it did, then you can sort of bet that your company isn't anywhere near as smart as it could be or should be. So step 1, surround myself with people both on the leadership team, but also just people that I engage with in the company at large that are way smarter than me. Like Dee, for example. Like, go to the experts who know their part of the business better than anyone, and draw on them, empower them to take action, to take big swings, give them the courage to go out and try stuff, and celebrate the failures. It's not about being right all the time. It's how many times we step up to the plate and go for it. There is so much opportunity, in this world in general, but certainly, right here in Matterport, that it's ours to lose. And as I look around the organization, there's such enormous untapped potential. And so my job is to come in here and unlock that and get people in positions to make much bigger contributions and maybe even push them past their own belief of what their potential is. I look around the room all the time. In fact, some people find this ironic, but one of the first things I do when I come to a new company is start my succession planning. And people would say, well, why, you just got here, you're looking for your replacement already? Yes, absolutely. And it can come from anywhere and any level in the company. You can look at all the great, corporations that have, awesome stories and histories. And, many of the CEOs started out, as a, bag boy in the grocery store, or moved their way up. I think the woman who's the CEO of McDonald's used to, work in the McDonald's drive-thru. Like, there's these amazing, amazing stories. So you can't ever assume that anybody at any level doesn't have the potential to run the company. And by the way, as you just maintain that philosophy, whether that succession plan happens, in a day or 2, or I don't think I'm going anywhere for a little while, but what it does is it creates, just a wonderful culture of collaboration. It allows us to scale and create things in the company that just otherwise wouldn't be possible. And we're off to a great start. And so the people I bring in to the leadership team, and I've added a few folks. We just announced our chief design officer and our head of hardware and R&D. So yes, if you're wondering if we care about hardware and Pro 2, we wouldn't be hiring someone like Lou. If we didn't, we're going to take it to the next level. And Dave, phenomenal design leader from Apple and eBay, and really understands what customer centricity is about. He's not just here doing design work; he's here changing the culture of the company, and that's the difference. That's the difference in the kind of MO for leaders that I'm looking for that we bring in the company, because when they become culture carriers, they talk about it and really act out what customer centricity is. They get in to the nitty gritty of it. Dave was with me out with our European team. He's doing a world tour with all of our sales folks, sitting in the chairs of customer service and sales.
and really hearing what the problems and pain points are and incorporating that into his everyday job. And that's the right way to start. And he's created a movement where, we're starting to see everybody do a lot more of that. So I'm not the only customer-centric guy here by a long stretch. And like I said, there's now more people in the company like yourselves and others who can do a much better job, and we just need to empower, to make a bigger impact.
I think I've seen a shift in the whole company culture already since you've been here, and you've definitely made me more excited about it. And I hope that our customers feel that through myself and other people. And so, yeah, it's great. I'm excited. So thank you.
Awesome. Me too. All right. So.
All right, business customers ask about self-hosted models. Will that be in the forecast?
Well, it's that's an interesting question. I've thought a bit about that, and I don't have a kind of an immediate view or a direction that we've decided on that we want to go there. There's more for us to discuss, more for me to kind of think about and get my head around, just being new and being totally honest there. What I can say though is there's the reason we host the platform isn't a money first thing, or it isn't because it's what drives subscriptions and the like. It's actually because there's a lot of value that's being created on the platform in which these models sit. And, it's a fully integrated system from workshop to showcase and back again. And capture as well, right? And we have a capture app, which, is just, kind of connected by an umbilical cord to the cloud platform. And what I'm looking more at, the cloud's a very powerful thing, and it's also where all of our deep learning and neural networks are, and all the image processing happens and reprocessing happens, and so as we think about the future of the roadmap of what could be possible in 3D spaces, and if I took you on a little bit of a journey to say, well, what if you had a 3D space? But then you could also do some things inside the 3D space in real time that were almost live, like where instead of just a snapshot of the building in a moment in time, but it could then be overlaid with real time information. If our roadmap moves in that direction and we completely decouple the showcase from the broader vision, we might lose a ton of opportunity to do some great stuff. One, two. It's a compute-intensive exercise, and we've optimized the ecosystem to have the best experiences so that we know, no matter where people are in the world, that hosted experience of a user going through a 3D space is going to always be fast, awesome, and load just beautifully as if it was local on your device. And that's a hard thing to do. Let me tell you. I was using Matterport and showing some spaces around just this last weekend, and I was up at like 12,000 feet and it had like half a bar of cell coverage, and I for the first time got to see what a sort of low bandwidth, not so optimal experience might look like with Matterport. And it was tough, and there's a lot of data, even as much as we've optimized this, that goes into a simple experience, and so I'm not quite ready to just wave the hand and say, well, for certain use cases, let's enable offline. I think we've got to just think through it again from ensuring that we maximize the best customer experience for people who are coming in the front door and experiencing those spaces. But give me some time to assess it. I certainly see the rationale behind it and why people would be asking for it. It does create a little bit of freedom, a little bit of flexibility and independence there. So that's not lost on me. It's definitely one for us to really spend more time on, and we will, and we'll come back and tell you, share our progress as we develop more thinking around it.
Cool. Well, Chris Petracco says Matterport seems to be in a better place today than it was 6 months ago. Way to go, RJ. All right.
It feels good. It feels good. Thank you.
And now a question from one of my favorites, Jan. Hi, Jan. What is Matterport's short-term vision for the VR app?
Short-term vision. To be perfectly honest, I would say for VR, it's probably the short term is it's right where it is. I don't think there's an immediate update that we're going to bring forward just yet. However, one of the things that I quite like about Matterport is when you can go full immersive. And I think it really shows the strength of the quality of our 3D models, like when you can really kind of drop into it and go. And so I don't want to lose that, right? I think there's real opportunity there. And I think there's also real opportunity with augmented reality as well, and these spaces. There's just so much for us to bring to the table. And what I'm trying to be mindful of is, again, where we deploy our precious resources first. Where there's, again, a lot of the low-hanging fruit or biggest pain points or biggest opportunities, and not to say that VR isn't one. But I think one of the areas where it's going to benefit is we move to a platform strategy and we start creating those open APIs and things. I would love to be working with some VR developers who can really create, some cool enhancements and help us take it to the next level. I want to be careful, again, not to get caught in the trap of trying to do things, ourselves that maybe the ecosystem of VR innovation is already, way further down the line with, and so it's a key part of our platform discussion as to, what kinds of things we can support in the VR world as well. So there'll be more to come on it, but, for the moment, nothing new to report.
Cool. So Skeeter says, what about adding staging to models? Is that going to happen anytime soon?
So, this is a personal, passion of mine. And I see, and having gone through this in my side hustle for 25 years in real estate, one of the most, and I apologize if there are designers or stagers out there in the audience, but I'll just tell you my personal experience. When I was selling a home that ended up, it was an unusual house in Sausalito, and it took a while to get this thing sold in Sausalito, California. But I had a stager come in, and he was phenomenal and just like transformed it into a totally different house. And it was like, wow, I was living like really shabby, compared to what this guy just did in like one day of staging. It was actually quite embarrassing how good it was. And eventually I'm convinced it was sold the house. And maybe in the end it was okay, but I was paying thousands of dollars a month for this largely faux furniture. Like most of it's not even real. Like the lamps he put from the ceiling were just like Velcroed literally they looked real. Like you wouldn't know. Thousands of, and it sat there for, 14, 15 months. So I thought I was going to go broke, paying staging. And I know it might have been an extreme case, but then I hear, no, these are the going, certainly in California, these people charge an outrageous amount of money. And boy, there could be a great disruptor there with true virtual staging. And look, there's a lot of companies out there trying to solve this problem. Now, but most of them still are too manual. It's like, well, we'll try to hand deconstruct your space and by hand remove, all the artifacts and furniture and then by hand put stuff in. Where I want to get to is, one, we're already doing some really nice things in computer vision with object recognition, object detection. And once you can do that, you can start to work on object removal. The hardest, the first step is, can you empty a space, right? It's easier to actually drop stuff into a space than it is to take it out. And so there's work going on there in our case, in our side, but we're also looking at who else is out there, trying to solve this, because what I envision when we have this new platform is I would love to see 4 or 5 different virtual staging vendors work with us, get access to some APIs, get access to the data they need to be able to really do this well. And, again, we do it in a secure, anonymized way, whatever, is necessary. It's not about, trying to break privacy here, but it's a way to, help these companies advance their, because some companies have 10, 20, 40 people working on virtual staging, through technology. And we wouldn't be putting 40 people on that category, but I'd love to put 3 or 4 companies that are, to work against it. Because I do think it's a game changer. I think it becomes a massive reason to Matterport. For sure for residential real estate, but for commercial real estate, companies want to see what their new office design layouts could look like, in 5 different ways, like, yes, of course, it becomes very, very powerful. Hotels or want to do a refresh. This is a way cheaper way to do it, as we all know. And if that's a reason for an MSP to be able to say to whoever their client is why they should, buy Matterport services from them, it's massive. So we've got to figure it out. And I think, again, like, we're looking at the ecosystem and what tweaks do we need to make to our platform, and what should we be contributing from that computer vision, expertise that we do have, just to help, accelerate it and move it along. So there isn't transparently anything immediately in the roadmap. And look, there's plenty of other people that are out there doing virtual tours and talking, a big game about virtual staging, but we've not seen anything yet that I think really fits the bill, what our MSPs are looking for. And I think, to kind of keep with the Matterport brand and deliver something that's really simple, that works, that's beautiful, and meets the gold standard of Matterport is important. And we're going to keep in pursuit of it until we find it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're nearing the end of our hour. Let's see, can we take one more question? Let's see. Zillow is calling their new product 3D Home. There is no 3D. What can we do? What can we do so they don't confuse that market with our market with faux 3D?
There are, in my view, what I've seen is a flurry of 360 tour companies and 360 capture being touted as 3D.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's been going on for years. And it's wrong, it's noisy, it's messy, and so I think, Chris is right to sort of point out this isn't helpful. I think the answer has been, and part of the answer will continue to be, that we spend less time dealing with that kind of confusion and mess in itself, and work harder to clarify Matterport True 3D being the only platform that's really doing true 3D capture at scale, at the scale that we're at. What I'd rather see, quite frankly, is companies like Zillow or any others embrace Matterport. Like, if they want to do 3D, great. Then I think their customers would love a true 3D, reference standard 3D capture, and we could help them, just like we help many real estate portals all around the world who love us and bring us onto the platform. That's been our approach to kind of take that out. And the other one, by the way, that I'll also share quite openly is you might notice something that we, as I said at the beginning, we announced our support for the 360 cameras ourselves, but we didn't announce support for 360. We're not putting 360 tours anywhere. Let's be clear. It's going to be a transformation into a true 3D model. But then that also creates potentially another interesting, way to clear this whole thing up, is to enable 3D model creation from other 360 imagery. Is that possible? Well, if it's possible with a Ricoh camera, Theta V, or an Insta360, it just might be possible with others. We tend to think, and I think the more that we get out there, and the faster we move towards our vision of 100 million spaces, with the help of our MSPs, can't do it without this network for sure. That's going to be the way that we really kind of tackle it head on. And at the moment, I think from a customer point of view, it's our job, to really continue to cement the Matterport difference, out there in the minds of consumers and in the minds of potential customers for Matterport.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. Well, we've hit our hour mark. I wanted
an hour already? Yeah, wow, that was fast. I could go another hour. This is great.
Well, we'll have to have you come on again.
And by the way, I'm happy to do that. And in fact, it's not even happy. Like, I hope you'll have me back because it's so important that we keep this conversation on. What you're doing, in all seriousness, is just vital
to the success of the company. And we'll work together. It's my first time doing this. How can we amplify this? How can we make sure that we're capturing all this goodness from the MSPs out in the field, and maybe even customers to be or MSPs to be? What more can we do, and what additional value can we bring to this community? In the space of an hour, or if we need more time or different approaches to this, I'm all ears to
Cool.
to suggestions from you and from the community on how we do that.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of good feedback and input, and we'll be reading all of this and definitely passing it along to people that should know about it. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I just feel so honored and privileged that you took your time out of your day, because I know you're super busy. So thank you for joining us. It's just been awesome, and we will look forward to having you again. And again, everybody, remember, next week we're back on Tuesday at 9 o'clock Pacific time. We'll have John Hubbard joining us, who is the inventor of a Gibbet mount. So that will be an exciting session. So look forward to seeing you Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Yay, you're super awesome.
So are you.
Thank
That was
you.
fun.
Was it?
Yes, really. It's great.
Told
There's
you.
a ton of questions in there. Where it's just, I don't know. Maybe someday we decide to do an extended town hall and run it